What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network, YouTube's out there. Appreciate everyone jumping in on a Friday afternoon, a football Friday. Got Jon Impemba with me on today's show. What's up, John? How you doing?
Dan, doing pretty good. Week 18, the NFL season is here. Always an interesting way to go with some of these games because there are teams that are playing for everything. There are teams that are playing for nothing. And then there are teams that are just out there playing to play spoilers. So you always got to figure out what the moves are going to be made for personnel. Right before we went live here, Eagles ruling out Devonta Smith and Darius Slay. You're obviously an Eagles fan. You know, they're going to be scoreboard watching that one. They need the Dallas game, right? To Dallas somehow lose to the Commanders for them to like move up in some playoff seeding or something like that. So unlikely, but it's something we have to pay attention to and placing some bets this weekend.
This week has been a challenge trying to make our bets here and get ready for this show because, you went through it. It's like every game, different situations are all different. Player contract incentives, if we're talking some player props, I know I'll have my eye on a couple of those. All the playoff scenarios or teams that are knocked out, teams that are locked into seeds like the Chiefs or Ravens that are probably resting guys.
Yeah. The Lions who are locked in but are
still going to play guys.
Right.
Yeah. It makes this very challenging. I'll tell you right now, I am not touching the Eagles or the Cowboys games because who knows what's going to happen. You could see both teams be up at halftime and then start resting guys, and some backdoor covers very much alive in those. Or you could see both teams just go all out and just crush the Commanders and Giants because they're both bad teams. So who knows? But if you have any of your own bets or props, touchdown predictions, parlays, anything for Week 18, throw them in the chat here as you're watching along on YouTube. Like and subscribe as well this video if you're watching. That helps us out and get some more eyeballs, some more commentary in the chat as well. We love the discussion that goes on in the chat throughout the show because it opens our eyes to some bets that we otherwise may have overlooked or not considered. So let's dive into our game bets first here to start out as we usually do. I'll let you have the board here first. Where are you going, John, with one of your bets?
Yeah, we're going to go hometown game here. We have the Jets versus Patriots. So it's maybe one of the lowest, if not the lowest game total I've seen on the season. It's set at 30.5. And we're finally supposed to get some New England weather here this weekend. Saturday overnight into Sunday. Various models for snow ranges anywhere from 3 inches to a foot of snow with wind. So if we're already looking at some bad weather conditions, some bad teams, some bad offenses, they went under in their first meeting here. They're going to try to run the ball on one another because they're not going to be able to throw all that much. I'm just going to go the under 30.5 here, Jets Patriots.
Can't blame you there. That is going to be just one of those ugly games probably. And the weather situation. So we're probably going to get some snow, right, for this?
The expectation is, again, it's supposed to be snowing overnight Saturday into Sunday. And now there's different models that are out there. Some say it's going to turn into more of a sleet, rain, snow. It just makes it even harder really to throw. What they haven't really been inconsistent on is that it's going to be wind. We're going to get sustained 15 to 20 mile an hour winds with gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour. So that alone, with whatever level of precipitation is going to be out there, whether snow, sleet, or rain, is just going to make it hard to move the football. So I'm gonna assume these two teams are try to keep it on the ground. They're good defenses, so the under to me feels like the way to go.
Yeah, and this total 30.5, if it does finish at this line, this is going to be the lowest total since 2005. Actually, in the NFL, which is pretty wild. And it's probably going to be like a 14-10 game.
The Patriots played 3 straight games this year where they gave up 10 or less points to their opponent and lost all 3 games.
That's hard to do.
It's impossible to do. It's the first time it was ever done in since the 30s or something like that. So this could very well be a spot where hopefully they. I hope the Patriots lose for the sake of their draft pick stock because they're sitting in the 3 seed. If they somehow win this game, they could fall down multiple spots in the draft order here. But Dan, I know that you have a pick for this game as well.
Yes, so I'll go to that one. I was gonna save this one because I know you're a Patriots fan, but I got to ask you first.
Yeah.
What percentage chance would you give that this is Bill Belichick's last game as the head coach for the Patriots?
I think it's all but done. I don't know. Supposedly, based off reports, they've kind of like come to the decision, but they haven't really fully made the decision yet. They're gonna talk to him. Supposedly, there's supposed to be a conversation with Bill and Kraft to decide, like, okay, what's the deal here? Like, why have we fallen off so dramatically? Not just in like player performance, but like overall record, drafting, free agency, coaching. Like, it's just an organizational teardown. That's what some reporters are saying. Other reporters are saying like it's already been decided. That's why Bill's kind of been the way Bill's been over the last few weeks, just kind of getting to the end of the year, and he's ready to kind of move on. And then there are other teams out there that have their eyes on this situation too, and more than willing to give Bill, their head coaching job when it becomes available. I mean, he's been linked what feels like to the Commanders for 8 weeks now, with the potential that Rivera could be out on his way out, and he has Belichick's from the DC, area, Virginia area, and all that stuff. So, we'll see where it goes, but I don't think we see Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Patriots next season.
All right. So on that note, give me the Patriots money line in likely Belichick's last game as the Patriots head coach. It's minus 125 on BetMGM. It's a small spread. But listen, this stat all too well as a Patriots fan, but for those that aren't aware, the Jets have not beaten the Patriots since 2015. This is 15 straight losses that the Jets have been dealt by the Patriots. Obviously, a lot of that with Tom Brady, but even in these last couple of years, they have not beaten the Patriots yet. And I just cannot see Bill Belichick just, having his guys ready for this game. I could see the Patriots players, a lot of veteran guys in that team just rallying around, knowing the situation, knowing that this could be Belichick's last game, to give him a win, to send him out at home. So
against the Jets team that he hates,
the Jets team that he hates. Robert Saleh, since he's been the coach of the Patriots, he's 0-5 straight up against the Pats. Since 2011, by the way, Patriots are 23-2 straight up against the Jets.
Yeah.
So this has just been a one-sided rivalry. Obviously with Brady, but also in these last few years.
Cam Newton, Mac Jones, it doesn't matter who it is, they've beaten them.
Bailey Zappi this week is going to be the next quarterback to lead the Pats to another win against the Jets. This obviously there's no like X's and O's that you can really take away from this, but on the one hand, you do have, it's still Trevor Siemian starting at quarterback for the Jets. I mean, this team is kind of, when they realized, all right, Rodgers definitely isn't coming back, we've seen this team just losing a lot of games down the stretch here. Their defense has been good, but they're starting to kind of quit on the season, it seems like. I just think that we're going to get one last really good effort from the Patriots to get this home victory for New England. Yeah,
for sure.
Glad you're on board, even though it might hurt the draft chances. I'm sorry, John.
It's all right.
And if Belichick isn't going to be there next year, then why doesn't he just, stick it to the franchise? And he doesn't care about these draft slot for next year. All right. My next bet here, I'll go because we just broke down that game. This is on Saturday. This is tomorrow. If you're watching here on Friday, Steelers and Ravens. And you know what? Give me the Ravens as the underdogs here, plus 3.5. It's moved around. I think it's plus 3 some places, but I like getting that little hook for the plus 3.5 here. Ravens, they're locked into the 1 seed in the AFC. They're resting starters. We know Lamar Jackson's definitely not playing. Tyler Huntley's starting at quarterback here. Likely see some backups in on defense and offense in this spot. But I don't care. And I know the Steelers they need to win to make the playoffs here. But I think the Ravens are going to be very right to try to play spoiler here and knock their division rival out of the playoffs for sure. Not even give them a chance. I just think their backups are still going to play hard. Tyler Huntley, I think, is a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph anyway, even though he is the backup in this spot. I just think they have the advantage there. They still have an advantage, on defense and special teams, in my opinion, even though we're going to get some backups. But I think this line is just inflated too much for what the situation is with the Ravens already, locking up their 1 seed and resting guys. The Steelers coming off of 2 straight wins and needing to win here to get in the playoffs. I just think that this spread is a little bit of an overreaction. So give me the Ravens. And to wrap up here, I always like giving out some of these, under the radar, maybe not for those that pay attention, but against the spread trends. And this one is just fitting so many spots for the Ravens as underdogs. So the Ravens as an underdog since 2018, they're 20-5 straight up, or 20-5 against the spread as an underdog since 2018. 6-0 against the spread as a home underdog in the stretch. Harbaugh versus Mike Tomlin, when these guys have met over the years, the underdog in this rivalry matchup is 82% against the spread. And when the underdog has been at 3 points or more, it's 95% against the spread. So we've seen the Ravens cover as dogs in this spot. We've seen the Steelers cover as dogs in this spot. And it's the Ravens' turn here to just trying to, surprise us all. And when you don't think that they're going to win, I could see the Ravens win this game outright. But I'll take the 3.5 here on the spread.
Sure. Yeah, no arguments with this. I know that they're obviously not starting their starters here, right? They got Tyler Huntley, I think, is their starting quarterback for Baltimore this week. But you're getting the points in the divisional matchup. I don't hate that call at all. For me, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers in divisional matchup for them against the Carolina Panthers. They're giving 4.5. Bucks win and they secure the division title there. So just sort of playing into that narrative. You got a team that's playing for absolutely nothing. They don't even have their own first round pick this year. There's a Buccaneers team that has everything on the line for them. I know Baker Mayfield is banged up a little bit. We saw them win against Carolina a few weeks ago, but that was only by 3 points for Tampa Bay in that game. But I think they get it done here. I think Carolina is just willing to pack it up at the end, where Buccaneers just have way too much more to play for in this one.
I'm in a position to go against your picks because you've been hot on this show when you've been on these Friday shows and you've been hot with your picks. But I am scared of this just situation. It's similar to what the Steelers Ravens is. Just the Panthers team that nothing to play for, as you said, and I just feel like the fact that they don't have their first round pick. I just feel like these guys are going to maybe get some pride and want to win this game to go out and end the regular season. But obviously, nothing on paper says the Panthers should beat the Bucks this weekend. So I can't argue. All right, my next bet here. I'm going to go to the Bills-Dolphins game on Sunday Night Football. Under 50.5 in this one. It's dropped a little bit to 48.5, but I want to get the 50.5. So minus 140 on BetMGM. It's not too bad. Nope. But I think 50 is kind of a key number with some scores when you look at possible final scores, like a 27-23, just like a narrow win for either team where both teams are scoring in the 20s and it's just kind of right at 50 or 49. So give me the under 50.5 here. This is the AFC East division title game. So we got the winner here clinching the division in the AFC East. Dolphins are already locked into a playoff game, playoff seed, but obviously they want to try to win and get the home field for the first round. Bills, we'll see. I think if the Steelers lose, they could still get into the playoffs even before playing this game. But just the fact that this is basically a playoff atmosphere matchup between two teams that want to win the division, want to get a home game to start out the playoffs. I expect the defenses on both sides to just set the tone for this. In addition to just more conservative offensive play calling for both teams, especially on the Dolphins side of things, because they're dealing with a number of injuries on offense. Jalen Waddle, Mostert, Tyreek Hill, multiple.
Tyreek Hill was shown in the walking boot when he was watching his house get, put out the fire, So I was a little surprised to see, he's still not 100% with that ankle.
Yeah, he's not 100%. Waddle, I think, is questionable and could actually be out. Same thing with Mostert. Multiple O linemen too are banged up. So, this is a team that, obviously they want to win this game, but if they get kind of down, maybe a score or two, and it's the second half, I could just see them just kind of resting some guys just to make sure they can be healthy for the playoffs. Like Hill's snaps, we've seen him, be off the field for some series or parts of series, and just to preserve his health. I just feel like that's the vibe we're going to get. The Miami offense, by the way, these last 2 weeks with all these kind of injuries popping up, they've scored just 22 and 19 points against Dallas and Baltimore. Their offense is just not that, firepower, dangerous, deep ball, breakaway runs. This is not the same offense that we've seen this year. The Bills, they're just kind of like they've kind of transformed since they fired their OC. They've transformed into just like a power rushing team. This is a team that they're using James Cook a ton. They're using Josh Allen a lot near the goal line. That they're not passing as much, and they're just looking to grind out their offensive possession. So this game just kind of screams under for me. It's also just, it's another primetime under. These primetime games have been going under left and right all season long. I think it's like 60 to 70% hit rate on the under for primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. So we get one more to end the regular season on this Sunday night matchup. So, yeah, give me the under for this AFC East division title game, basically.
Yeah, I like it. Again, we've seen the Dolphins offense obviously struggle a little bit. Buffalo's defense and offense have picked it up of late there as well. My next pick here, I'm going to go Green Bay -3 at home. A win and in for Green Bay here. Get Chicago. Again, another team maybe looking to play upset. Spoiler here, Green Bay should be getting the expectation is at least that Christian Watson will be back. He's limited at practice. Jaden Reed should be available for this game. So offensively, this team should be ready to go against the Bears this weekend. Jordan Love's been playing some really good football of late. And I know Chicago obviously has some motivation to play, upset here, but I think ultimately Green Bay gets this one done against the Bears this weekend.
I gotta give you credit, John. You're going out on these teams that got to win to make the playoffs, and fading these spoiler teams that are scaring me. I wasn't ready to make a pick against some of these. I looked at Packers, Bears. I looked at the Bucks, Panthers. But you were going with the favorites.
I think the Bears have a better chance of beating the Packers than the Panthers do of the Buccaneers here.
Agreed. Yeah.
Obviously, Justin Fields, he personally has a lot to play for one of two things: either showcase himself enough to be like Chicago, keep me, and let's draft, Marvin Harrison #1, or trade that pick back and do something to like build around me as your future quarterback, or hey, this is what I can do to another team. Come trade for me and make me your franchise quarterback, right? One of the two here for Fields. But I just think ultimately, what Chicago has offensively, I don't think it's going to be enough against Green Bay at home in this situation. So Packers where I'm lying -3.
I think this is another game that we could have some snow and wind potential too, from what I was saying in the weather.
Green Bay, maybe. I'm looking at the weather report. I don't see anything on at least impacting this game quite yet, but maybe that's something that's coming.
Okay. Well, you were talking about Justin Fields there, playing for, a job next year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to this next one that's a similar situation for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And I'm going Seahawks Cardinals over 47.5. The Cardinals offense has been just, I watched it firsthand as an Eagles fan last week, coming back and winning against that Eagles defense that just let them come right back down the field a couple times in the second half. But this Cardinals offense has been looking a little bit more lively with Kyler Murray under center here, who similar to Fields, he's playing for whether he's going to be the starter in Arizona, which is probably likely, but they could look to move on and draft a quarterback for next year. So, he's a guy that's playing for next year, and he's ending the season with some good numbers and some good games. And Cardinals offense with him under center now in these last handful of games now, they're averaging 22 points per game. So this is Cardinals offense that we have to look at it a little bit differently. And on the other side, it's the Seahawks in basically must-win mode for a chance at the playoffs. They have, if they lose, they could have. I think they're knocked out, but I feel like they need some help from like the Packers. If the Packers lose,
the Seahawks need to win and get a Green Bay loss or tie, or they need to tie with a Green Bay loss and a Tampa Bay loss, or tie, or Seattle tie, Green Bay lost, New Orleans lost. Or tie.
Yeah, so they're basically in must-win mode for this.
Yeah, they have to win, and then 4 other things need to happen. So.
Yeah. So I expect the offense for Seattle to be on point and ready to go because they're facing an Arizona defense that they're bad against the run. They're bad against the pass. They are last in defensive DVOA this season. I expect Seattle to have success against this Cardinals defense and do their thing. But as I said, the Cardinals offense itself is no pushover. And the Seahawks defense on the other side has struggled lately. Over the last 6 weeks, they are bottom 5 in defensive DVOA. They're bad against the run, which is, I think, a tough spot here because the Cardinals with James Conner have been really doing well in the run game, and Conner's ending the season strong. So this is just
spoiler for what the next segment is with our player props there, Dan.
Yeah. One of us might have a pick on James Conner, but
right.
And I have a pick on the Seahawks side of things. I know that with the prop because I do think
a little same game parlay for the folks at home is what you're saying.
Yeah, and throw the over in this. By the way, Cardinals home games this year 7-0 to the over this season. So I think this is going to be another over to end the year. So give me that in Seahawks Cardinals.
I like it. I like it a lot. Again, given some of the player props we have, that should flow nicely in correlation with what we're hoping to happen in that game. My last pick here, we're going to go Raiders -3 at home against Denver, Las Vegas, riding the season out. Again, nothing that they're playing for, but I think they like their head coach. I think they want to keep their head coach. If they win this game, it certainly gives that head coach a lot more of an argument to stay there with Pierce being the hired as the full-time coach. Their defense continues to play and show up pretty well here. Denver's cashed. So give me the Raiders -3 at home to close out this season.
I like this one a lot. Yeah, the Raiders are definitely one of those teams that are playing for their head coach in this last game. They want Pierce to be the head guy next year. And a win in a division game to wrap up the season. And the Broncos, I mean, they're going back and forth with Russell Wilson. Like this is not ending well for a team that it looked like they might be like a fringe playoff team at times this year, but it has just gone in an opposite direction to end the season for them. All right, so those are some game bets. If you have any of your own, throw them in the chat here. As we were saying, we got Toronto Dave chiming in here with some alarm emojis for the fantasy alarm crew.
I always love seeing Toronto Dave in the chat. Big supporter of all the shows that we do, man. So appreciate you popping in here today, man.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Well, let's get to some player props now. And we teased it a little bit. We both got some picks in this Cardinals Seahawks game. What is your pick for this player prop for this?
Yeah, I'll give out 2 because I have 2 in this game. And you can give out the one that you got.
Okay.
I got James Conner over the 70.5 rushing yards. He's gone over 100 yards rushing now in 2 of the last 3 games here, really giving him the volume. And we talked about Seattle's run defense are really struggling right now. So I got Conner over 70.5 at -130. And then I'm going Greg Dortch over 3.5 receptions. Snap count's been on the rise over the last 2 weeks. No Hollywood Brown. Played 82% of the offensive snaps last week. Caught all 7 of his targets there. He played 79% of the snaps against Chicago. Only had 2 of 5, so he went under there. Did have 45 yards and a touchdown. But again, I think this is going to be a spot where you like the over. I like the over. I think this is going to be back and forth. And Dortch is going to be on the field a lot. He has that connection going back to last season, playing with Kyler Murray here. It's there's again no Hollywood Brown. Michael Wilson's your outside wide receiver. Dortch is in the slot. You have Trey McBride obviously being a big target guy there, but give me Dortch at +114 over the 3.5 receptions for my 2 picks in this game.
Yeah, I especially like that Dortch one because he has come on just getting that taking advantage of the playing time in these last few weeks, and I looked at his receptions, I looked at his yards too. So I'm glad you threw out his receptions. A nice plus money prop there too. Well, my pick for this game, I looked at DK Metcalf. I looked at Geno Smith props. I think you can look around for those. But Tyler Lockett is where I'm going to go over his receptions, over 4.5, -105 on BetMGM. This is a good matchup against Arizona's defense, as I was laying out. They've struggled against the pass. They're a bottom tier secondary, and this just being a must-win game for Seattle to make the playoffs. It's going to get, a lot of targets Lockett's way, a lot of targets Metcalf's way. I just expect them both to be involved a lot, but especially Lockett just for in terms of receptions, in terms of targets against this Arizona secondary. And interesting, I don't know if you saw this incentive out there, this contract incentive. Geno Smith gets a $2 million bonus if the Seahawks make the playoffs.
Wow.
So we got Geno. I think he's going to be looking Lockett's way a lot here because he knows he can get some easier completions there. Lockett, by the way, so he's got 5+ catches in 5 of his last 8 games. Was only held to 1 catch last week, but I expect a rebound performance now in a better matchup with the Seahawks situation as it is, and just a higher scoring game back and forth, I think, as we both expect it to be. Lockett on the road, too. I didn't totally notice this until diving into it. Tends to have his higher reception games on the road. He has at least 5 catches in 6 of 8 road games this year, and he's averaging 5.6 catches per game on the road. So, yeah, give me the over 4.5 receptions in this.
I like it. Again, we're both in on this matchup. There's some incentive plays I was looking for that I couldn't find. I wanted to get the DeAndre Hopkins yardage, but I didn't see that one listed
anywhere. His props weren't anywhere.
Yeah, but he's close. He needs 61 or 62 yards to basically get $500,000. He's got 11 more yards for or was it a 250K bonus? I think Coop had in his article. Maybe I'm sure it's 250K and not 25K, but he's got a bunch of bonuses that he's well within reach of. So it's like, ooh, where are the D-Hop props? So they weren't out there that I could find.
He needs 7 catches for 250K bonus. He needs 49 receiving yards for a $1 million bonus.
Okay.
And he needs 2 touchdowns for another 250K. So
right.
Yeah, I looked at his props too. I'm glad you brought that up because this is one of those props where I was looking at it. I would encourage you to look, tomorrow. Yeah, maybe Sunday when it comes out. It's weird that there's none out right now. I mean, maybe they know about these incentives. They know people might hammer it. They just
won't list them,
Yeah.
But they'll get hammered. They're just going to force feed DeAndre Hopkins all game. Yeah. Could also very well be the case there. So.
Well, this is a game where the Titans are one of those spoiler teams that could be live to win this game outright if Trevor Lawrence doesn't start for the Jags. So we could see the Titans just let's see a big game from Hopkins to wrap up the year. So, all right, another one of your bets, player props for this weekend.
Yeah, we got Nico Collins here over 73.5 receiving yards. Went over this last week at CJ Stroud back. Houston in a spot of a win and win the division. So obviously big incentives for them here. And it's a pretty good matchup for them as well against the Colts. We know the Colts do not have a great pass defense. So give me Nico Collins over 73.5 this week.
Love this one. Yeah, I looked at Collins. I got a Texans prop here too, though, because I'm gonna go Dalton Schultz. He's a guy that has incentives in play. He's got a couple contract incentives right now. He needs 6 catches for a 250K bonus, and he needs 107 yards for another 250K. So I looked at his reception prop. It's at 4.5. It's just a little high for me. But instead I'm going into his yards here. It's at 43.5 receiving yards. So I'm going to grab that one to go over. The Texans dealing with multiple injuries to receivers still. So Stroud is going to be looking Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz a lot here. It's basically going to be those 2 guys as his top targets in, this game too. Is basically a win and you're in for the Texans against the Colts. The winner of this game basically is locked into a playoff spot. So with a playoff berth on the line, I just feel like Schultz has a decent target share in this one.
Yeah.
He has 50+ receiving yards in 2 of his last 3 games and in 6 of his last 10. And the Colts have allowed some tight ends in recent weeks to have some bigger yardage games. So looking at Dalton Schultz here again is incentive. If you want to look at some alt lines, he needs 107 receiving yards to get a 250K bonus in his contract this week. So
there you go.
hopefully he can just go over the 43.5 at least.
Right. My pick here, I'm going to go Rashard White over his rushing yards, set at 70.5 against the Carolina Panthers. Again, we've talked about how bad the Panthers' run defense has been all season long. White ran for 84 yards against Carolina. I know the last 2 weeks haven't been a great running performance for Rashard White, but tougher defense to run against in New Orleans and Jacksonville. Before those last 2 games, he had a run here of 89, 102, 84, and 100 yards rushing. Plus, he added the fact that Baker Mayfield's shoulder maybe not at 100%. He's missed some time. Would not have practice on Wednesday if they had practice. He's been limited. So maybe that shoulder is not 100%. They lean a little bit more on the ground game in a matchup that teams have been running on all season long. So give me Rashard White here over the 70.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, I think this is a good game for the Bucs to just try to get back to the run too because of the matchup. So, yeah,
and all they need to do is win. They don't really care if they cover; they just need to win. So, well, I would love for them to cover the spread. To them, they can just get the lead and be like, you know what, running game all day. Why risk Baker hurting his shoulder, throwing a pick or something like that? We'll just hand it off to Rashard.
Yeah. All right, my last prop, another contract incentive one, because I got to go back to this. It's Austin Ekeler, and his prop is not available right now. So look for what this is going to open up as, or wherever you can get it. But his combined rushing and receiving yards is where I'm looking. Again, it's, I'm waiting on the line here, so I'll still factor it in whatever the line is, because I just think he's going to go over this because his contract incentive. He needs 110 total yards this week for an 100K bonus to hit when he gets his scrimmage yards combined to 1,000 and 125, so 1,125. So he's 110 away from that, and I expect his rushing and receiving line to be 80 yards, 90 yards maybe, but I think he's going to get over that with the Chargers situation. So they're playing a Chiefs team that has nothing to play for in terms of seeding. They're locked into their playoff seed no matter what happens in this game. So they are expected to rest starters on both sides of the ball, but I think on defense, they're going to rest a number of their veterans. So I just think it's going to be it's not like we have to think of this Chiefs defense a little bit differently in this matchup. So it's just going to be a softer defense for Ekeler. Rushing and receiving. And I just think with the Chargers situation with their, interim coach, head coach spot, Kellen Moore calling plays and probably, looking to put another good game on tape, looking for head coaching jobs next season. I just think he's going to use Ekeler a lot in this game, carries, passing game usage. So yeah, give me the over on Austin Ekeler's combined rushing and receiving, whatever you get it at. He going back and looking throughout his career, by the way, he tends to have his bigger games against the Chiefs. He averages 94 total yards per game against the Chiefs, going back to the 2019 season. This season, he's been a little bit down because of that Chargers offense, averaging 78 total yards per game. So, if we get a rushing plus receiving yards line at 80, 85, 90. I still want that over. So yeah, wait and see on it, but grab the over on Austin Ekeler.
I like it. Yeah, again, obviously he's been a bit risky all season long, but end of the year, these teams and guys definitely try to get know where the money's at. Right at this point, They all know if they're within range of getting some cash, and usually they do a good job of making sure that happens. My last pick here, we're going to see CeeDee Lamb over 6.5 receptions is minus 145. I know you mentioned you were worried about taking anything with Dallas, but Dallas still needs to win. They need to get ahead, and I think they're going to do so pretty early and often here, just by peppering CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Washington hasn't been able to cover you or me if we went out there. I don't think they're going to handle a guy coming off over 200 yards receiving in a much tougher matchup. So I think this one gets done early. I think they just give CeeDee Lamb the football and let him do his thing. And this one cashes before they decide to rest their starters today.
Yeah, I've stayed away from the Cowboys spread in this game. But yeah, I do think it's going to be a lot of Lamb early on, as you were saying. It's going to be because they want to get multiple touchdowns in the first half,
right?
And then have the benefit of maybe resting some guys in the second half.
If he had 3 or 4 catches on their first drive, that would not shock me.
I wouldn't. Yeah, me neither. for sure. And by the end of the second quarter, he's probably going to have 7, 8,
Right.
9, 10.
That's where I'm looking. So,
yeah, good call on that. All right. So those are our player props for week 18. Let's wrap things up here with our touchdown predictions. Touchdown. All right. One of your touchdown calls here is very relevant because we were just talking about CeeDee Lamb.
yes. I am going to do CeeDee Lamb first touchdown of the game. It's at plus 425. If anytime touchdown, he's like minus 130, I think, or minus 140. So that's no fun. Let's go get 4-1 on our own money. CeeDee Lamb scoring the first touchdown of the game here in this Dallas Commanders matchup.
So yeah, ideally he has 7 catches and 100+ yards and a touchdown in the first quarter, and then he can go on ice.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're looking for.
All right. I guess more likely touchdown call here. It's Josh Allen, anytime touchdown, minus 120 on Caesars. This guy's been a touchdown machine. 15 rushing touchdowns this year. He's got a rushing score in 12 of the last 14 games, 5 straight games with a touchdown. This is, the AFC East divisional title game, basically, between Buffalo and Miami. Josh Allen's going to be the guy when they have the ball down near the goal line, in the 5. He's going to be the guy running in the scores instead of James Cook. That's how it's gone for the Bills. He is their goal line back this year. James Cook only has 2 rushing touchdowns this season. And again, Allen has 15 now. So I just expect overall in this game, Josh Allen. I looked at some of his other props rushing wise. I just think he's going to step up big in this game, as he tends to do whenever the Bills are in like a huge game in a primetime atmosphere with a playoff berth and division title on the line. I just think when they're down low, it's going to be Josh Allen punching it in on likely a QB sneak, maybe a scramble, but yeah, give me his anytime touchdown.
Sure. No, again, hard to argue. He's perfected their Buffalo push play as well as anybody else, right?
Yeah. Even though I have the under in that game, I just I can't ignore his touchdown production. So, and then my plus money one is Boston Scott. The giant killer.
I said this to Bender on the DFS show, and he poo-pooed me. So I'm happy that you have it here.
Well, so I threw this out on this show 2 weeks ago when the Eagles played the Giants. It did not cash in that game. But just to reiterate, Boston Scott's touchdown production against the Giants in his career. So before that last game when he didn't score, he had played the Giants 9 times in his career. He scored a touchdown in 8 of those 9 games. He's got 11 total touchdowns in those 9 games. This guy, 6 straight games against the Giants, he had scored a touchdown. This just happens every time the Eagles play the Giants. It's just one of those things. And, interesting situation for the Eagles. I said I'm not touching their spread. No idea what's going to happen with this, with the scenario, with the NFC East, with the Cowboys. But I do think there's a good chance we see more Boston Scott in the second half of this game. If the Eagles do go up a little bit early, if the Cowboys are up and, the Eagles are scoreboard watching, then they start resting their starters. DeAndre Swift, by the way, he's questionable with an illness, was limited in practice this week. So could see, just limited snaps for him anyway. And it's more just Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. But Gainwell's been their second running back anyway. I feel like they might want to rest him a little bit for the playoffs. So I think in the second half, we're going to see a lot of Boston Scott. Yeah, and give me his anytime touchdown here.
Listen, everything you just said is what I said on the DFS show. And Bender was like, yeah, you didn't even have any carries last week. He said, no, I get it. But Sirianni already said, like, if they look up and Dallas is up by 40, they're pulling everybody. They're not going to go for it. And if that's the case, Boston Scott's going to get on the field here. That's just the way it's going to be. So,
yeah,
unless we get a Rashad Penny legacy game here, I don't think so. So I'm with you. I like that call. I was actually going to put it down too, but you had already done it, so I'm glad we covered it.
Yes. See, this is why I'm glad, shout out to Howard. I love when he's on the show, but if he was on the show right now, he'd be saying exactly what he said to you.
Yeah, exactly.
To me. So I'm glad you're on the show today.
Yeah, we're in agreement.
Yeah, giving me some props for this one. Hopefully it cashes. I do agree that what you're saying with the situation, I wouldn't probably throw this touchdown call out if the Eagles were expected to play their starters the whole game for sure,
Yeah.
But I think just what the situation is, second half, fourth quarter, we're going to see a Boston Scott touchdown.
Are going to 3 touchdowns at halftime, and the Eagles will be like, you know what? Like, we're
pulling guys.
We'll see you next week, So
yeah. And Devontae Smith, you mentioned at the start of the show, he's
Slade
out.
Smith already ruled out. So
yeah, they're going to play it safe. All right, so those are our touchdown calls. If you're just tuning in now, rewind a little bit and see our player props, our game bets for Week 18 for Saturday and Sunday's games. Should be an awesome Week 18, even with we got a lot of playoff scenarios. So even with the games that and the teams that don't really matter or don't have much to play for, you could still have some of these bets going and enjoy all of it. Yep. We'll be back on Monday. I think new time if you're paying attention. I think it's a 2 p.m. Eastern start time starting up next week here on Bettor Sports Betting. Yep. So we'll be back on Monday. I know I'll give out a college football national championship bet and a couple bets for that game, but we'll review and recap how all of our own picks went on Monday's show as well. Good luck with all of your own bets. Coming up after us, by the way, here tonight, we got the NBA DFS live show with Jon Impemba rolling again and James Grande, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for that for all of your NBA DFS lineups tonight. We'll see you guys Monday. Good luck with all your bets this weekend, and take care.